You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in hurricane-filled Northport, Florida. I've got an update coming from the command center in City Hall. Please get this information out to your friends. Please share this. I'm going on a little early so that we can get more listeners on for critical information about Northport. We had Mike on yesterday. He's now had several hours to prepare for what he's about to tell us. I have no clue what it is, but I'm positive with the changes in the trajectory of the storm. There's some preparation being made with City Hall right now, and Mike is going to be a huge asset with information on the current situations at Northport City Hall. So please, while you're watching me this moment, please share the video, get it out to your friends. The more people that we can get this to, the better off we are. It's going to be critical for what looks to be end game scenario, maybe what is going to happen, how we're going to transition through the storm, and all the what ifs. So if you have any questions in where you're at, what you're doing, preparation, please go ahead and get those over to me. You can type those into Facebook at Real Talk 97.5, or you can go to WKDW Radio 97.5 on Facebook and type your questions in there. I'll do the best we can to get those up on the screen and being answered by Mike. Of course, we have to value his time. I'm going on early just to let you guys know, because it is mission critical at this point for people to understand where they're at, what they're doing, and how to hunker down. If you've never been through this before, first suggestion is to make sure that everybody is off the road safe, sound, and secure, and in a good high area. If you're in a low-lying area, such as the Rotunda area, Inglewood, even down into the Punta Gorda area, if you've got friends down that way, they really don't have much time to get to higher ground. They're talking huge storm surge. And please, just for the next 5 minutes, if you can send this out to your friends, get this link going. The valuable information that they're going to provide may change what you do during and after the storm. So Mike is expert in the field, got plenty of years under his belt. I'm still trying to get Wayne Halliday on the show, and I'm still getting information in. So he should be popping on here shortly. Please contact your friends, your family members, have them watch the show. They're going to get great information straight from the command center at City Hall. And we're going to try to bring this to you as long as I can, because we did have a flicker of the internet earlier, about 15 minutes ago. So phase one of our famous thunderstorms here in Northport, the cable went out, so did the electric, and everything rebooted just fine within minutes. But I have a feeling we're going to go through that throughout the day. I'm also going to try to set something up where he will come back on the show, so that you can tentatively be ready for the next update prior to hopefully entry in. We do have Rich Suggs, who is on his radio show Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 3:05 to 4 o'clock, same time slot as mine. He will be helping us out because he's in North Carolina, and he will be able to go live when we will not have internet. So we are working jointly, Rich Suggs and I, to bring you as much information as we can to keep everybody in the loop. And hopefully we can all weather this storm. So please, the next 3 minutes or so, share this information out on Facebook to get the viewers listening critical information about Northport and surrounding areas straight from the command center at Northport City Hall. And we're waiting on Mike to log in to bring us this update. So the more that we can get out there, Rich Suggs just said Charlotte County is now shelter in place. So if you're in Charlotte County, do not attempt to go out on the roads. The winds have picked up. They're not suggesting you leave. I did have a friend that's out in the Rotunda area. He did call the police, and they said to wait for the eye to go through before he left to go to higher ground, just because of the effect of the storm on the backside. So once the eye goes through, there's also going to be some issues that we're going to have. So I've got Mike coming on here. I'm going to go ahead and bring Mike on.
All right.
Hey, Mike, are you there, buddy?
I am there, sir. How are you?
I'm good, partner. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
All right. So I know that you've had probably a busy night since I talked to you yesterday, and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. But what information do you have to share with us this morning?
Basically, what we're looking at, the storm path itself is pretty consistent from what we were looking at last night. A few deviations left and right, 10, 20 miles, which can make a big difference when you cut to local level, but storm-wise, it's minuscule. But for us, it does make a difference. But I've been kind of watching that, and they've been kind of in line within that 10, 20-mile radius in terms of the actual storm track. So either way, we're still pretty much center bullseye for this storm. The eye wall itself is 50 miles in diameter. So, it's one of those 10 or 20 miles really isn't going to make much of a difference in terms of being impacted by the wall itself from what we're looking at now, which probably looks like it's probably going to be coming on shore probably later on this afternoon.
And Dana asked, what kind of winds are we looking at? It's her first hurricane, so she's trying to prepare herself.
Yeah. This one is major hurricane. This one is 140 mile an hour winds. So this is strong. Ian, last night when we talked was a category 3. Overnight, it jumped up to a category 4. So he's gained some strength. Like we were discussing yesterday, he's just drawing that nice warm water, which is what they really draw their energy from, and he's drawing every bit of it. So he's gotten up to a Cat 4 now. So that's kind of the wind damage that we're looking at for, at that strength. You're looking at 140 mile an hour winds.
So we're in comparison to Charlie. What is that in comparison to?
Charlie was fairly small. It wasn't that powerful. The storm itself was smaller than Ian. Ian is just big overall. When you have a 50-mile eye wall, that's big. Charlie didn't even come close to what Ian was. So Ian dwarfs Charlie by 2 or 3 times. And
the effects that Hurricane Charlie had on the Port Charlotte region, Punta Gorda. Can you kind of explain that? Give an overview of that?
Sure. Well, what you have is a lot of the water, the way that our coastline lays, is you have the water kind of inlets into the coast itself. And what happens is as the storm comes up on that right-hand side of the storm, all the wind is coming into the coastal area. So what it does is pushes all that water onto land. That is what we call the surge. For this one, what we're looking at is anywhere from 10 to 16 foot storm surge. So that's above ground level. That's a lot of deep water. And what that wind does is just drives that water onto the land. And that's why, we are very, very susceptible to those storm surges, because Florida, as you know, is for relative purposes, is flat for, all intents and purposes. So having something like that is going to push many miles inland. When it does come on shore, we're going to feel it for quite a distance.
Can you talk about the BMP in the storm itself? We just got an update right here from Jim Bateman that it's around 937. What does that mean to us in the working class?
Yeah. What that does when you're looking at the barometric pressure, the lower it gets, the stronger the storm. We like to see storms that are into 1010s, 1020s. Those are very mild. But when you start getting into the 9s and the mid 900s, where this thing is headed now, that's an indication of a very, very strong and powerful and well-organized storm. So he's definitely developed quickly, rapidly, and is intensifying consistently.
What do you know what the lowest storm we had as far as pressure goes?
I will have to check on that one for you. I don't know. I don't recall right off the top of my head. I know Irma was low, but I don't know if she was that low when she got to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it had more time to come up land.
Yeah, exactly. So by the time once it hits land, it really, you'll see the intensity start to drop off fairly quickly, simply because, like we talked about last night, you're taking away the storm's fuel, which is that warm water.
And what do you think? What do you think we're looking at post hurricane? What kind of devastation do you think we're looking at here in Northport?
It's going to be pretty significant. We're going to have a flooding in areas where we've never had flooding before. We have our flood areas that we know about. They're going to experience levels that they have not seen before. So this is something that is going to be historic in nature. So it's going to be one of those events that will go down. People are going to be talking about this event for many, many years to come.
Do you think this is going to be more water damage than storm damage?
No, we're going to get both. Simply because where we're located in this eye wall, as big as it is and as strong as this storm is, we're going to get the full impacts of both on this one.
Suggestions for people at this point?
At this point, if you're not at a safe place, you need to get there within an hour. After that, right now, it's not really safe to go outside. Hopefully you are at a safe location, but in about an hour, conditions are going to be so bad, it's just not going to be safe to go outside.
So if you're in a low-lying area, the AB zones, right?
Right.
I think they even incorporated the C zone into that late last night, early this morning. What's your suggestion there?
Right now, if you can get to a shelter quickly, do so. But it's one of those cases that if you're in one of those areas, you really do need to get out of harm's way. And hopefully a lot of our people have already done that. But they really need to be cognizant of getting to those places if they haven't done so already. This is really their last chance.
All right. Any suggestions for people on food, water, and so forth afterwards? Because we also have to talk about post-game plan in this event.
Right.
How are we set up for that?
Yeah, it's one of those things that we've always preached. What we learned from Michael is we used to look for 72 hours for people to be on their own. But we learned from Michael, as devastating as it was, that really wasn't enough. It was more like 5 to 6, possibly even 7 days where we really need to sustain ourselves, simply because it takes so long just to get the basic services back, simply because we just can't rush in, because just because the storm leaves, that flooding is going to be there for a while. And it's going to prevent us from getting to some of those areas to get the services back on. It's not that we don't have the resources, the capability, we just can't get to it. So sometimes that's going to take a really long time. And so we want to be prepared as much as possible. So we always told people to stay like 5 to 7 days, probably a good ballpark figure to work with in terms of food and water.
So are we working in conjunction with the county south of us in preparation for this storm?
Yeah, we've been in communications with Charlotte, Sarasota. Of course, we're always working with them, coordinating anything that we needed to do. Yes, we have that communications network that if anybody needs anything, we're able to reach out to them, and they can reach out to us as well.
Well, Jim Bateman wanted to know that, we talk about the estates and the beautification side of things out there, but we've always had a flood problem out in the estates. What do you see as the major problem coming into Northport from rains up north?
This is going to be, this is kind of like we get the benefit of almost having like 2 flooding events, simply because of the rainfall from the storm itself. And then, as you mentioned, the sheet flow from above us, which is going to get here in 2-3 days later, that we're going to get that. And he's mentioned down in the estate, that's going to be one of our highest impact areas. We need to make sure that they're aware that when they're almost going to be kind of cut off if we get the kind of water that we're going to see coming down here. So they need to be very aware of that and make sure they're safe, staying safe as possible, because our access to them may be limited once that water comes down.
Rich Suggs asks, can you share your experiences with any flooding or lost power, internet, and road blockage?
It's one of those things where the major roads, we're going to try to keep open as much as we possibly can. We have tactical first in teams. We have 3 of them within the city that go out and clear the major roadways to make sure that we have emergency access to wherever we need to go. There are going to be those areas that are just going to be totally flooded out, especially in the lower lying areas, as you were mentioning earlier, that we're just not going to have access to by vehicle. So we're going to have to use different alternative methods, such as shallow draft boats, which we do have the capability. We do have the resources to do that as well. It just takes longer, of course, as you would expect. We just got to use a different method of transportation down there and getting access to those people. So it takes time to do that, but we do have the resources, and we're working on getting more to make sure that we have enough to account for our needs.
Talk about the strategic plan now for as we get closer to the storm, about emergency services and what are the restraints there.
Once our emergency services, once the winds get up to 45 miles an hour, our emergency services pull their vehicles off the road. So it's one of those things where it's not even safe for them to be on the road. So 911 calls are just going to be for a period of time, or we're not just going to be able to answer those simply because it's not safe for them to be on the road. So there's going to be a period of time where, until those wind levels come down, where it's safe for the emergency services to go out there, we're going to be hindered in our capability to do emergency responses.
And that's really set up not for citizen safety first. It's really it's set up for the men and women themselves to keep them off the road that are providing the service.
Absolutely. We have to protect them so they can protect others.
And what are we doing with the emergency side of things in coordination with the state and the county? How are we working that?
Yeah, anytime we need resources from the state or the county, we work with Sarasota County very closely, and they have a contact with the state. As everybody saw, the governor was down here yesterday, and their director of the state emergency management was with him. So we have that contact. We have that immediate contact with them, so they're well aware of the situation. They are very well aware. We'll probably be requesting resources from them. We have some pre-identified resources anticipating some of the needs that we're going to have within the community. And so we're working through that process. And so getting down there as quickly and as safely as we possibly can.
And I'm going to talk about the eye wall again. Where do you project it to stretch from and to?
If you're looking out 50 miles from the sidewall, and you're looking for, if it were to come over Northport, so you're looking at draw a radius around Northport, a good 30 to 40 miles, Northport being the epicenter, and go out 30 to 40 miles. If you're in that area, you're probably going to experience eye wall conditions.
And tell people right now what they're expecting with an eye wall condition if they've never been through one.
Yeah, this is something that you really don't want to experience if you don't have to. But 140 mile an hour winds, this is something that most people never experience. And you really don't want to. This is dangerous. This will blow mobile homes over. This will just wreak havoc on a community. Trees coming down, large trees will be toppled by this. Older structures will be toppled. Again, those within temporary structures, those are going to be gone. These 140 mile an hour winds are just basically a beast. They pretty much, if it's not tied down or secured, it's not going to be where it originally was.
And hence, everybody should have been doing this long before, right?
Absolutely. That's why we started messaging days ago, because it kind of anticipated worst case scenario. And even though we were hoping for the best, as we always do, we plan for this type of scenario. And sure enough, this is what happens. But that's why we do that messaging, so they get all those items secured and put away and everything battened down as best as possible.
Do you know what time it's going to hit Northport roughly?
Probably. Let me see if I could pull up something here really quick. Let's see. So you're looking at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, probably 3 or 4 this afternoon is probably when we'll start. If it maintains its current track and speed, probably about 3 or 4 this afternoon is probably when we'll start seeing the impacts of the intensity of it.
What time are the shelters going to stop accepting people?
They're going to take people. If you make it to the shelter, they're going to let you in. They're not going to. This is not one of those deals where I'm sorry you're too late. We're closing the doors. If you make it to the shelter, they're going to let you in.
And we were part of the shelter the last time. This is one of those storms that is a little different than that last storm.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain the difference between those two?
Yeah, this one is this one is so big, all the shelters are being opened. And, the restriction on the last one it was kind of a smaller event, so to speak. We kind of thought we were going to get by with, just doing the basics. This one, no, we're pulling out every possibility, every resource, every capability that we have, simply because this one calls for all of our resources, everything we have. And as much that we can open, we're going to open.
And I'm going to ask you, because I wanted to text you, but can we go back live on the air maybe around 2:00?
I'll check. I know we have several meetings going on this afternoon and updates going on. I'll check.
If you'll do me a favor and text me a time frame, I will go live on the air prior to and try to get the audience. And maybe we could take 5 or 10 minutes of your time at that point and just get a quick update. But if everybody will pay attention to Facebook, I'll try to get Mike to do that again. I deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate everything you guys are doing. And I know the citizens of Northport are listening and hearing everything you're saying.
Right.
And last minute suggestions for the citizens of Northport and surrounding areas.
If you're feeling unsafe, you have a very, very short period of time to get to someplace safe. This is your last chance, your last opportunity. If you don't, hunker down, stay safe, stay in contact as much as you can, pay attention to all your media outlets, your social media, all the traditional media outlets to get the latest and greatest information to let you know what's going on, so you're aware as we go throughout this event. And the biggest thing is just stay safe, stay out of harm's way.
One last question. Kelly asked if they have the 2005 house and they're shuttered and ready to go, what's your suggestions for citizens of Northport if they're ready like that?
Code-wise, it meets code standards. It all really comes down to how safe do they feel within that house. It's one of those things, it's hard for me to say, well, if it's a 2002 beyond, you're good because it meets the updated code. People do remodels, people do different things. It's all dependent upon where they are and if they feel safe in that structure. If they don't, if they have any doubts, any hesitations whatsoever, go to a shelter. It's just one of those. If you have any doubts whatsoever, just go to someplace where you feel safer.
And one last thing I will say is that while Charlie hit, it wasn't a complete disaster everywhere. It was also Charlie picked and chose where he hit.
Yeah. It was Charlie was a unique storm. Charlie definitely had some tracking anomalies. This one, Ian knows exactly what Ian's going to do, and we're just going to happen to be in his path.
All right. Well, Mike, I appreciate you very much. Have a great day. Be safe out there. Text me if you get time to do another quick update.
Okay.
And tell everybody at City Hall hi, and I'll talk to them soon.
Great. Thanks, John. Take care. Stay safe.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening in. This is John Rawlings with WKDW Radio with a quick emergency update. If you haven't listened, to any of the other shows and you're in the low-lying areas, please get out of them ASAP. Get yourself in a situation. Kelly asked a great question about 2005 with shutters. If you've got your shutters on your windows, you're in as great a place as you can be. But as Mike said, if you're uncomfortable at all, get out and go to a shelter, and this too will pass. We'll get to the other side of this storm, and there'll be services as soon as possible. So make sure you have everything. Even if you go to a shelter, do not go empty-handed. If you can carry food and snacks and things like that with you, please take them with you. Those are critical things to have on hand. Just get your personal bag ready. Get your food bag ready. Worst case scenarios, you're going to be sitting on a hardwood floor. Best case scenarios, you'll have something to read or eat with you. And just get there and make sure that everything is safe, sound, and secure, and that you take anything critical, meds, food, snacks, book, whatever you need health-wise, make sure you have that with you. A shelter will not provide that inside the shelter wall. So if you don't have your meds with you, you will not be getting your meds. So make sure you take them with you. Rich Suggs said parts of Port Charlotte Harbor are completely without water, being pushed out. So obviously parts of Charlotte Harbor are now the water is being pulled out. That's part of this storm and how it works. It's going to pull it out just like it did up in the Tampa Bay region, and we had pictures of that for years. So keep in mind that things are going to start happening. If you're not prepared, if you're not ready, if you don't have food, you can't go get it now. Like I said, and Mike said, you've got less than 1 hour to really get out before this really cranks up. And we're pretty close to now having emergency services cut off. And so keep that in mind. You guys stay safe. I'm going to jump off of here. Rich Suggs, I know, is going to pop on later. So please stay tuned for everything that we're trying to broadcast. Rich is up in North Carolina, so he's going to be able to jump on the air much longer than I can. Any other questions at this point for the listening audience? Let's see, Marjorie, the water level came up 2 feet as soon as the wall went past Naples. So yes, those are the types of things that are happening out there. And, the one thing I talked about yesterday with Mike that I will talk about just for a few minutes now is we're at king tide. This is the highest tide of the year. And we're supposed to be high tide at 3:00. So anybody that lives on the water also understands that, when king tide happens, it's the highest level of water, and we're just before high tide. We would have preferred to be at low tide, but we're going to be at high tide. So we're going to have a lot more push of water, and that's why they're really getting this information out as mission critical to get out of those low-lying areas, because you run from the water. And basically people need to run away from the edges of Florida right now. And this is just not this side. It's also the other side of Florida, where the backside of this storm is going to create havoc on that coast. So keep that in mind. As far as pushing over Northport, we answered that question earlier in the show. You're probably looking at the noontime area. So we're getting close to it now. Noon, 1 o'clock. So just be safe. I've got a few things I've got to go do. Are there any last questions? Let's see. Northport will be in the eye of the storm around 5:30. Well, I have a feeling this storm is going to wreak havoc before 5 or 5:30. So you guys, whatever you need to do, keep it up and be safe out there. I'll talk to you guys soon. If I need to jump back online here in a few minutes, I will. But I'll talk at you later. Bye-bye now.